this is way better than any other kind of T-group I've experienced before. It really brings you into your body and into your feelings in a way that pulls you out of your story and in your head. When I arrived at Somatic T-Group, initially I was feeling really avoidant and isolated and, to be honest, pissed and rageful. And by the end, it transmuted into feeling very loving and soft and open and available and present, connected. Anybody who is exploring leadership for themselves would benefit from Somatic T-Group because we all have our shadows, we all have our disowned parts, and this is a very effective and useful modality to address those unexplored parts of ourselves that need to have a light shine on them. Well, the onus of responsibility and integrity ultimately falls on you, and we are all our own experts. However, a lot of us never have the opportunity to learn how to speak our needs and how to set boundaries and how to have a healthy relationship to what we want and don't want. And seeing that modeled in the T-Group somatic format is invaluable. It has a way of hitting all the spots of your psyche, your physiological, emotional, spiritual, all those different levels get addressed in this work. I've done more workshops, training, seminars than practically anyone I know. I am a therapist. In my experience as a therapist, exposure therapy has the biggest implications for transformation, and Somatic T-Group requires you to draw on the different levels of human experience, the body, the mind, and the spirit. And you can't hide, like when you're doing talk therapy and you're sitting opposite from someone, touch, the absence of it will limit the potential capacity for where you can go. Niley is very sensitive, attuned, she's patient. Niley brings a fresh energy that I'm not used to from other facilitators. She draws on years of different modalities and different disciplines that she's really trained herself in. She walks the talk. And what I really like is that there's a lot of hands off. It's more like trusting us to be our own guide, and she puts in what's needed while also stepping back and allowing our own agency, our own sovereignty to rise. To anyone who is hesitant or doubtful or dealing with similar concerns that I had around, I just don't feel like being around people, I'm having an off day, it's an opportunity for you to challenge those beliefs. And that's what I did. I had a breakthrough. And what really sets this kind of T-group apart is there's like subgrouping. It's not just the whole group as one that's interacting and we're each politely taking our turns. It's actually a conglomeration, and there's plenty of crosstalk and overlap, which is all welcome, and it's part of the experience, and it's part of the messiness that draws out each different person, because as one group is participating, someone else who might be an outside observer sees what's happening, they want to join with this, but then they don't feel safe enough to join with that other clique of people, and so it's really like it becomes a testing ground for, I'm going to try this, and then if I feel safe enough here and build up enough resilience in myself, then I can step into a different subgroup, and then eventually the subgroups have enough safety and trust within their own smaller circle that we rejoin as part of the larger group. And then what is possible? Well, I'll just leave it with this one word: magic. Look, when it comes to how much you're willing to pay for an experience, it's about what value you see you could get out of it, and all I can say is you will get your money's worth by coming to Somatic T-Group. And it's not something you can know in advance, it's something to be discovered as an experience.
I was super resistant to come. I love practices similar to this, but I never done anything quite like it. I was really hesitant at first to open up. I had a hard time dropping in and feeling comfortable because so many of my patterns got triggered right away. It wasn't even the safety that I think I felt that helped me break through, but the fact that so much was allowed to come up because the structure felt so expansive for me. It felt like so much was allowed that it helped me go into places inside myself where in other practices or processes I didn't quite feel as much permission. Niley, it's like she got out of the way in a way where the things that needed to happen happened, and I saw at moments her tracking me and what was happening, and I remember looking to her multiple times wondering like, is she gonna step in? And looking back, I felt really grateful that she didn't, because the patterns that I think needed to arise did. The triggers were able to arise more naturally and took me to my edge faster, because there wasn't like a coddling or a checking in on me. It's like she wasn't feeding my pattern of being overly sensitive to get attention, and so then it got to get really big before I had the breakthrough. So yeah, this helped me actually see the pattern so that I feel like I had more choice at how I wanted to show up. So I feel like somehow this feels empowering. It felt like a combination of like a classroom and then like a super, like I did feel kind of tripped out at times, like so much was happening, so it felt like almost like in an alternate universe, dimension, like the levels of awareness that were happening. Like I'm seeing my fight and how there's a pattern of fighting in conflict to actually reach surrender, like how much I push before I'll let go. And I also saw the avoidant in me, which was a little hard to witness actually. How much I avoid like to get attention. I saw the pattern of like being out on the outside was actually a way to try to draw people's attention towards me. The biggest thing was being able to face and feel some of the fear that has been here and present. When I needed to, I backed up and created physical space for myself, which I actually felt was a huge benefit. Also, though, combining it with the practice of speaking, using the words. So something about combining both of them helped me go to another level of expressing and feeling, like really visceral, deep. It felt like trauma, like fear from trauma. And I was able to go into it in a way where it felt safe and not too much. Like I just kind of went right up towards the edge. So it helped me see actually my own intuitive capacity to feel into a space and know what I need. I felt actually, I would say, more safe to manage my own energy in this container and environment that I have in other containers. So yeah, I guess my hope would be that if someone else is also in a similar case where they've been doing a lot of self-work and they want something that kind of just push them up against their edge, that this could be something that would do that and help them have some breakthroughs. I was a little resistant to spend so much money. And I would say yes, it was worth it. Yeah, the level of breakthrough that I had definitely felt worth the money. It felt, yeah, similar to experiences, really tight containers and times though where I've even had more time. I felt like I was able to go a little deeper in the short amount of time than maybe I would even in like a 2-day workshop or something like that. So I was actually surprised that I went where I did. So yeah, I would say it was worth it.
It was interesting to be in a part of like an exploration series where you had like full-blown permission to explore all different parts of you. I think my experience, my big growth thing was to use my sight and like feeling into what someone is saying and then feeling into the deeper truth. So I think there's like this level of authenticity, of vulnerability, and of taking like radical responsibility all in one, while like dropping down into the sensation of your body without the story of it, which like allows you to like slice through all the bullshit that we mostly like humans do just to like squirrel out of the thing and dissipate energy. So yeah, it was pretty rad. Miley had mentioned that there are moments in Somatic T-Group where maybe you feel a little bit disconnected or disembodied or bored. And I had felt layers of that come up in the first round, and it was really the second round where I felt like I woke up, I woke up to the experience, and that was, like a beautiful call out. Beautiful call out that allowed me to really sit with it and feel that sense of uncomfortableness of owning where my patterns are, where my patterns to disassociate when I feel this sense of avoiding conflict instead of saying and naming the thing. So naming it brought me out and brought me back into my body, and was kind of a wake-up call where my body was stood up erect. I felt like I could breathe, and that story I had of being tired was just story. It was cool to be able to feel from my body rather than my head. It's helping me navigate how to communicate with others, dropping the story and coming from a place of owning my experience and coming into my own perspective, reveal my experience in relationship to the person in the story that I'm making things up with. So I think from a leadership standpoint, just having better communication skills to understand compassion and empathy and kind of bring out the raw truth and the essence of people will only help escalate community, which is what I want to do. One experience that was incredible was when I felt like I could call someone out for passively wanting or expressing a desire, and being I want you to say it, you mean it, right? And then as soon as he did, I felt into my own body, there was this refusal to want to accommodate him before, because it came off in a certain way that I know myself to do, of passive and squirt me, come get it, come save me. And then when I was able to call that out in him and have compassion and empathy, and then for my own experience, I then came into this role of desire. The highlight of that experience for me was I was able to see him for his humanity and his vulnerability, and also honor my own desire as it feels totally aligned in my body, and to do it out of desire more than obligation. There were moments where when I received touch that might have been too much. In the past behavior, I may have let that on a little bit longer, but here I got to practice communication, to be I'm gonna contract now and sit still with why that is, and know that it's okay, we're not to take things too personally, and even if it is, we can talk about it. So that was really cool, being able to kind of feel that moment of contraction and to name it on the spot. Yeah, boundaries to be able to be said, even if they change every so often for me. I'm a yes, and then I'm a no, and then yes, no, but to ride that wave, to communicate from here to here quicker. So my guess is that I'm going to be integrating all these pieces. There's something to be said around a price that is worth the time and investment, right? And I'm so a yes to this being worth the time and the investment and the attention that you bring in. With all the other things that are going on, the saturated market of personal development courses and retreats, I think that this container is really special because it allows you to dive in to explore all of the cool tools, like I said, with authentic relating, vulnerable dyads, we've all, conscious touch, we've all had that, right? But this is a more open, publicly facing, people are witnessing each other talk in a way that is more interactive and more even like risky, you know? Like there's more stimulus, there's more material, and there's less baby caretaking, and yeah, it's a whole slew of things can happen. So it's like taking the best of all the workshops that you could take within, you know, a month and putting them in this compressed 3-4 hour container. Make sure you're energetically resourced. Maybe give yourself maybe like 2-3 hours before coming here, just so that you're grounded in your own energetic field, and you can come in strong and totally present to take it on, because it does, you know, you do a lot of energetic, subtle stuff here, and you're not only like reading language, but you're reading the language of the body behind what is said or what is not said. So a survival tip is, yeah, like meditate for a while before coming into this space.
It was intense. It was a roller coaster of emotions and feelings. It was very exposing, and required me to show up a lot and be present and own my feelings and be clear with myself and my feelings and own my interpretations of myself and of others and of the actions of others. And it allowed me to be more clear with myself and my feelings, and to have a safe space to express myself clearly and fully. Felt like a safe container for the most part. I felt intense discomfort at times, but overall I'd have to say it was very interesting and energizing and fun. And it was quite fun, a lot of laughing. I learned that I don't own my initial feelings, that I go through a cycle of feelings around a thing, and I am usually waiting for my emotions to settle at a particular place, and then I interpret that as my feeling. I learned that it is possible and it makes sense to own every step of the emotional cycles that you might go through, and that emotions are not fixed, they are complex, and they are like living organisms, and expressing them as they are growing and changing is important for other people to really understand who you are as a person. I could see how it would impact my interactions with people at work, and how I interpret their motives and their actions and how I react to them, and also in my relationships. I would definitely recommend this to other people who are looking to do somatic work, who are looking to challenge themselves and build intimacy skills, and who want to understand and own their own feelings better and be able to show up for the world around them in a more clear way. It will have a lasting impact. I have apprehension around touch and sometimes discomfort around touch. I felt safe with the touch that I experienced here, and the level of touch and the amount of touch that was given to me and that I give to others. There's not really any way to prepare for what might happen. I would recommend self-care, making sure you're fed properly, you've gotten good rest, or not, it's up to you. If you're tired or hungry, it'll probably bring up more intense stuff for you, I would imagine. I love the space. The space here is really great. It's super comfortable and clean. I will say the container was held tight and gave clear delimiters to how the overall group was moving from stage to stage. I'm proud of myself for having the courage to come into a room and do something like this. It is always difficult every single time, and anyone who does so should feel proud of themselves and accomplished. It was worth every penny, definitely.
I'm wondering, like, well, where is this in the rest of life? Like, I'm left with this, like, oh yeah, this is a free-range taste of humanity. Like, and it's this unique combination of being, like, childlike in playfulness while, like, really having the support and container and, like, the shared intention of, like, being totally adult in my ownership of my own experience. I'm left with, like, yeah, I want more. It's both full-bodied, and it's also like, it's really just in the moment. Like there's like nowhere to go. We're not like having to really like figure anything out, and so the whole activity is just like clearing away of what's some of the most powerful moments were just like where all that was there for me was like just say hi. And just like noticing how impactful that was in terms of like just the what is shared in this in connection with people. Where it fits in is that it's a place to practice like everything that I've gotten from anywhere else is just available for me here to show up naked. Like there's nothing to do except to come like let the naturalness flow. Given that there's no like structure to like cling to, and like there is if you really need it, but then like you'll quickly realize like, oh, this is like I'm protecting myself. This is my experience. Like, oh, I'm clinging to something because here I am with a new group of people, and there's like anything possible, and I don't know what's going to go on. But how this is for me is just that there's so much available space to know that, and what I found was that the community that Niley has built here and invited people to show up in is really at this high level of practice where it's just like saying what's there, and then like there was a point where I had no idea how long time had elapsed because I had like stepped outside of like everything I was familiar with. So I was like, I kind of looked up and was like, is it tomorrow? Like, we were just inside of like an hour-long segment. What I was left with the experience of is just that, like, it's all good. There was some sort of like sense of, like, how do I do this? And this was a space where I could name that. And actually, earlier on, I had the experience of, like trying to create connection, and then noticing, actually with the support of someone else, like what they said exactly, but it was like just like, oh yeah, that's just what was underneath the different strategy of like humor and so forth, and then coming back to that, I was like, I just felt so at home with like coming back to that. So what I learned was really just already at home, and then like I can choose to be surrounded by a group of people that would just support me and helping me rediscover that in all the different things that come up where I'm like trying to survive. So there's a ripe opportunity for, like both getting uncomfortable and then like landing back safely. One of the things I discovered is just how I use humor when like I'm uncomfortable, and I'm not even aware that I'm uncomfortable. And here I had the experience of both like actually using that humor and then being able to and then it landed for me. It was like, oh yeah, like what was left after I said it was that like, oh, like here's, and then there's the next level, and it felt just as natural as it was to react with humor, then to go to that second level of like, oh yeah, and I'm wanting connection right now, like that's what it is, and then that second wave of like settling in. Where this was really unique was that, and I called it a structureless structure, where you're really left to your own devices, and which is actually great news. why that's great news is that like there's nothing to do or fix, and so this is the perfect place to like actually like have bonding experiences with people in that atmosphere. So great. I mean, I just say give it up and show up.
This gave me a chance to explore my growth edge, where I can be safe in a container that is very well held. It impacts my leadership because it allows me to be able to see what I want and then ask for it. Ask for it, being able to be aware of what it is that I can request, and making a strong request from someone, and without fear. Other people should definitely do this, and this, what I would suggest, the benefit is that each person gets to work on whatever it is that they want to work on, and there's no forcing, there's no coercion. You don't have to go and do anything you don't want to do, and it is a personal experience that each individual gets to make on their own. And in doing so, in being here in this group, you're able to actually go and exercise yourself, much like you might in a gym, but this is a different type of growth edge, and each person gets their own. And I highly recommend anyone who's looking for any kind of transformational work or any kind of working on themselves or improving themselves to actually to attend one of these and to see where their growth edge is, and to be able to go in and work on that, see what it is that is there for them. The thing that is special about this is that there's no set agenda. It is something that is completely unique in the sense that it's a little scary that there's no agenda set. That, okay, it's like, what are we supposed to do? I don't know, we'll find out. And so it's a little scary, but what's interesting is that it arises naturally, and the things that arise are what it is that you're working on. And that the natural stuff that arises is, for me, it's like how I behave in the world. It's not unique to this particular place. So this gives kind of like this play space, this kind of container or a sandbox that you can kind of play the game of life or interacting with other people in a safe way and see how it works, and then hopefully learn something about yourself in the process. So the thing that surprised me is that I had no idea what was going to happen, where the T-Group, the group dynamics unfolded, how they unfolded. There was some of everything, and it was, you couldn't have even planned it. No one could have planned it, even if they wanted to. And so what was really surprising is how it unfolded. And in the end, we all became closer afterwards.